Okay, ladies and gents. So second video, this will be a quick one about our basic statistics. We would like to have, like in math, we like graphs. We would like to have a visual way to represent statistics, all these measurements put together. And one simple way to do that is something called a histogram. So it's really simple to do, and you're going to do it in your notebook. So underneath my definitions from the first part, right, I got some space, or maybe it's going to be on another page in your notebook. That's okay. I'm just going to set up an axis, right? A vertical axis and a horizontal axis. The vertical axis is going to tell us, sometimes it's called frequency, or the number of occurrences, it should say. So how many times did a particular measurement occur? And then on the x-axis, or on the horizontal axis, is the measurements. So for my data, right, the minimum value was about 6.8 and the maximum value was about 7.1. So what we need to do with this data is we need to create what's called a histogram. And we'll start with using dots. So let me help you with that idea first. So you may want to go back to that sheet maybe you produced to help you find the median and the mode where we listed from small to large or minimum to max our values. 6.8 was the smallest, 7.4 was the greatest. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to count the number of times that these measurements occurred, and I'll put them down here. That occurred once, right, just one 6.8. There were two 6.9s. There were three 7s. There were three 7.1s. There was only one 7.2, only one 7.3, and only one 7.4. This is our number of occurrences that's going to go on there, or the frequency that these measurements occur in this data set. So that's what we're going to plot, and it's going to be real simple. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over at my 6.8. So in this case, I'm not going to look at necessarily the 6.8 as measuring a width here. I'm going to make a bar for this. And 6.8 occurred one time. So I'm just going to quickly put this in. 6.9 occurred two times. 7 and 7.1 occurred three times. And then the last ones, the last three measurements just occurred once. Right. So histograms usually are not done with dots, they're done with bars. So I'm going to pause the video and put my bars up, and then you'll do the same. All right, so here it is. This is what a histogram looks like. Typically we use a bar chart, and all we're doing here is I'm just saying the number of times the measurement 6.8 occurred was 1. The number of times 7 and 7.1 occurred was 3. So there's a visual way to see the idea of the mode and some idea of the median and some idea of the average. The average is sort of centered around here. Mine was 7.07, if I remember right. And half of the measurements are in that direction, above or greater than the median. Half of them are less. So a histogram becomes a really nice way to analyze and use data, and we'll go into more detail on how we use histograms shortly. At this point, I think if you're like me, that this wasn't the most fun exercise. It was kind of dry. There's a lot of little math steps and it becomes tedious. I hope you're asking yourself, is there a better way, a faster way to do it? And the answer is yes. We're always going to start off kind of doing things by hand, but then of course we want to know what people in careers do, and they don't do all this stuff by hand. They use computers. So that's our next step, is to do this basic statistical analysis with computers. So if you've got that sheet with all the statistics calculated, you got your definitions, and you got this histogram, that's what's needed for this assignment. You're done.